Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing damjan04 in the 5-minute pool in ICC. He opens with the e4. Let's play a Sicilian today, c5. And we'll go for a Kan if allowed. Play my usual Sicilian. I've had decent results with this. The immediate f4. Okay, let's play b5 and strive to put this bishop on the light square diagonal, the long light square diagonal. And now we'll go queen c7 and just protect this piece. So I could play knight f6 here, but I would have to reckon with the possibility of e5. Kind of thinking bishop b4, and if bishop d2 take. Idea being if bishop takes, then f4 is loose. Let's try that. Let's just see how they react. It's possible white could play bishop d2, bishop takes c3, and then pawn takes c3, and claim that the dark square bishop, the fact that they have the bishop pair, makes up for the dark square, or for the pawn weaknesses, rather. Okay, so he just castles. He's going to potentially just allow me to take. So if take, take, queen takes, I'm hitting the rook. Rook b1, white might be ready for a4 in that case. You know, I'm gonna attempt to grab the pawn. It'll make for an interesting game. So if rook b1, I'm thinking knight f6 to immediately hit this pawn. And then white could chase my queen, for instance, bishop b2, queen back to c7. Then I would be attacking f4 and e4. So if knight f6, e5, I can play knight d5, or I can even capture on f3. Actually, capturing on f3 would be bad. Rook takes. Let's still do this, though, because I think I need development. And I'd like to be able to castle kingside shortly. Otherwise, white might play bishop a3 at some point, like say they play rook b3 and then bishop a3 and try to cut off my king escaping. So undoubtedly grabbing this pawn is risky for me. I'm taking some liberties with my development and my king safety, but if I can survive the next several moves, I should be okay. So I'll try to consolidate. So bishop takes f3, rook takes f3 is an issue. Then my queen and my knight are under attack. So probably have to play knight d5. Let's do that. So this is a good piece right here. I don't think white would be thrilled to exchange their light square bishop for it. Yeah, king here, probably a sensible move. Maybe queen back to c7, idea knight c3. I could play knight c6, but bishop takes d5 may be the answer. So let's make a withdrawal of this queen and see if white falls for knight c3, forking the queen and the rook. So still I'm trying to rule out bishop a3 because of this threat. If white somehow defends against knight c3, like say they play, I don't know, rook b3, then I probably will castle because I really think I need to get my king to safety soon. Okay, queen here. Now I'm thinking knight c6, perhaps. I could castle, but now I'm not so sure about that because they're going to get bishop a3 in anyways. Okay, let's play knight c6 and just see if we can swap this knight. Maybe I'll wind up going queenside. You never know. If white takes, do I take with the bishop? Probably. There might be a case for taking with the queen. Queen takes would hit c2, but it puts me in a pin. A self-pin. I somehow like taking with the bishop a bit more. Let's do that. My dark squares are very weak now. So that will be a big theme for the rest of the game, I think. Queen here, probing the pawn on g7. Do I castle now? If I castle, probably f5 will be the answer. Let's say castles f5, e takes f5, bishop h6. I'd have to play g6 there and give the exchange. But actually, I might get some good play out of that if I do that. Let's try it. Otherwise, I don't think my king is getting to safety anytime soon. Giving the exchange may be a good way to dissipate the pressure. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Complicated position. So white could send the bishop to a3 too, but I suspect they'd like to play f5 and try to get the bishop to h6 and pin that g-pawn. Bishop a3 would be a bit more of a positional solution. That attacks my rook, and let's say rook fc8, and then bishop into d6, maybe queen a5 or queen d8. In that line, white wouldn't be striving for an all-out kingside attack. Okay, he's going to go for the kingside attack. Another move I was considering here was knight e7. Knight e7 invites f6, but maybe I get knight f5 in. But I think I should probably give the material. Yeah, let's do that. So letting white go bishop h6, but this is the plan. It's possible they might not want to take this rook right away. Like, it did cross my mind that white might try queen g5 or queen h4, but then I can grab the pawn on e5. White's queen would no longer be protecting it. So he just banks the material. Let's take with the rook. The rook wasn't doing anything on a8 anyways. Okay, so now it's material equality. I have a bishop plus 2 pawns. That move I didn't see, but there is queen takes c2. There's also bishop takes a2. And even bishop e4. I think queen takes c2 would be the correct answer, though. And now I'm certain that they will play rook f1, defending this rook because both rooks are attacked right now. I have threats against g2, but can I really exploit that? It doesn't seem like it. Oh, I placed that rook back. Okay. Wasn't quite expecting that. So I'd like to take a2. So if I take a2, probably this rook over. How greedy do I want to be? You guys know I'm a greedy individual. I like my pawns. Let's take it. So now I'm going up a point of material. Queen b3 maybe. Queen, I think here makes sense as well. Okay, I don't want to spend all day figuring out a square because they might not be that different. Queen b3 was the move that just crossed my mind immediately. Let's do it. Let's offer a swap. My queen and bishop are awkward in that case, though. All right, change my mind. Let's centralize. Let's go queen e4. I know this pawn is defended, but... Okay, queen over there. Makes sense. Yeah, they're going to annoy me now with chasing my queen around. Okay, let's bring this over. I might be putting myself in a pin, but my idea is if they play rook a1, I'm quickly going to play b4 and then b3 and support that bishop. Actually, I'd like to play b4, b3 against a lot of things. My king is pretty safe. I don't see how white's going to attack me. Like h4, h5, maybe if they get the pawn all the way to h6, that would be good, but otherwise, I'm not seeing it. It's an annoying move. b4, yeah, let's go b4, because that actually defends the pawn on d7. That took me a moment to see. All right, let's keep pushing. You can take here if you want. Let's go rook b8. White's going to be playing quick now. Now I'm going to rush the a-pawn. I expect queen here. Queen b2, that is. Now I'm going to march this a-pawn up the board as soon as possible. Maybe they double and try to take on d7 and then check on d8. But my pawn's getting up to a3 real fast. Let's do this. Gotta hurry now. So if they check, take, king here. Yeah, their queen's always under attack, so that's going to slow them down. Queen a1, maybe? Probably forced, actually. b2, I queen. I think I win in that case. Yeah, I think this wins.
Check.
Because after all the
Check.
trades, I get a2 at the end. Pawn just queens. We'll take that. That doesn't make any difference. Okay, let's just queen the pawn.
Check. Check.
It would be an absolute travesty for my bullet skills
Check.
if I didn't win this. This is so incredibly winning.
Check.
Okay, and he resigns. Back and forth game. A key decision was made when I sacrificed the exchange. So when I played this castles line inviting f5, e takes f5, bishop h6. So this was a definite turning point in the game. And I just had faith in my position that I would be solid enough after I've given up the exchange, but received white's dark square bishop. It just seemed to me that I would have enough here. And often when you give up an exchange like that to dampen your opponent's attack, the initiative can swing back in your favor. You've kind of survived the initial barrage, and you have given up some material, but you haven't got checkmated, and maybe those extra pawns that you have is a bigger factor. So let's go back and have a look at this. So this was a Kan with an early f4 from white. I think b5 is a good reaction to this because by virtue of white having played f4, they can't defend this pawn with their f pawn. So I can strive to put my bishop attacking e4 very quickly. So here I played just queen c7. Normal move for the Kan. Good square for the queen. It's flexible here. It protects b7. It also, in this case, eyes f4. I'm not sure about this bishop b4 move. It's possible that even something like b4 is better, pawn b4. Let's add the engine in right here and see. The engine says knight f6. In that case, e5 could be played, but here I played b4. This is a standard counter reaction, actually. Counter reaction, that sounds redundant. A standard reaction to white playing e5. You play b4 and you attack their knight. So if this happens, this chain reaction is not unfavorable to black. Like say f takes g7, bishop takes g7, I get a nice bishop on the long diagonal, and I don't think white wants to take on c3 when my queen can come in with check. So yeah, knight f6 might be a better move, or b4 directly. Bishop b4 on the other hand, we'll see how risky this acceptance of the pawn is. Thought there was a chance white might also play this. But if they play bishop d2, I don't necessarily have to take c3. I was thinking this could be played, idea being if bishop takes to grab this pawn on f4. Although I see here, this would have been a foolhardy idea. Yeah, I saw that white can try to win this pawn on g7. I thought perhaps there might be some complications, but the computer indicates this is promising for white. So on bishop d2, I may have come to my senses and not captured here. I might have just played a developing move like knight f6 again. But suffice it to say, if I could go back in time, I would have played pawn b4, knight f6 rather than bishop b4. Yeah, I'm not sure it's worth the trouble to take this pawn. But I am attacking the rook, so white played rook b1. And here I went knight f6. They played e5. I went knight d5. There might be a better way of developing white's attack. It's a flexible position. I'm sure white could find a superior way of gaining compensation right around here. I mentioned the idea of rook b3. I think this is worth considering for white. So rook b3 here, and maybe something like bishop a3, although this pawn is not really hanging, is it? Because if ever I go take this pawn, I would assume bishop takes b7 is just bad for me. And after I take here, there's the discovery on my knight. Rook takes f4. Yeah, computer also likes this, bishop a3, stopping me from castling. And here, because white's rook is on b3 rather than b1, knight c3 is not winning the exchange. There's no fork on the queen and the rook. So instead, white played king h1, and I prophylactically retreated the queen. The engine says castling is just better. I could see that. I mean, I do want to castle. I do want to get my king to safety. But I felt like it was worth it to try to take the sting out of rook b3 and also threaten knight into c3. I thought this would slow white down, and there's a chance they may miss it too. But white saw it, so they played queen e1. Here I played knight c6, just developing. They took. The engine says take with a pawn, take with a d pawn. That buries my bishop to some extent, so even now I don't like that move as much. Let's see if there's anything wrong with bishop takes. It's roughly even. Yeah, I think I stand by this choice. Sometimes burying the bishop is correct. Black will often face this decision about which way to recapture in a Kan or a Taimanov Sicilian. And sometimes it is correct to take with a pawn, even though you have this bishop here. But I feel like in this case, especially since I've gone through all this trouble to win a pawn, I should prioritize getting my pieces into the action. And if I take with a pawn, it's going to be harder to do that. So queen g3, and now I castled. Okay, so here the engine says just play bishop a3. So this is probably the true diagonal for white's bishop. It should strive to get on that diagonal. And again, this pawn is immune. If ever I go after f4, I get hit by this discovery. Yeah, I'm glad that white didn't play this. Castling queenside is exceedingly risky when I've already moved these pawns. As you can see, something by white trying to open the position could prove fatal very quickly for me, like c4, and if I take it, I assume bishop d6 with rook b8 to come is just deadly. So, yeah, bishop a3, I would have been struggling to figure out what to do with my king. Position's not lost for black or anything. Actually, you see the engine thinks it's roughly level now. But this position in a blitz game, probably much easier to play as white, even in a longer time control game as well. So I'm sure white would have preferred this position. Because as played, I get my king to safety, and yes, they do get to play f5 and win the exchange, but yeah, the computer is validating my decision to give up the rook for the bishop now. Because now my pawns are, for the most part, safe. I didn't notice that f5 was hanging coming up, and I've just got rid of white's best attacking piece. Or I shouldn't say best attacking piece, but perhaps the most problematic attacking piece, that dark square bishop that had no opponent because I already traded my dark square bishop long ago. So good example of a defensive exchange sacrifice in this game, trying to seize the initiative away from the opponent. Yeah, and here white did take f5. I wish I would have seen that move coming, but it turns out white has so many weaknesses that even losing f5 is not a big deal for black. So I take c2, hitting both these rooks. Really thought they would do this unless there's something wrong with that. Oh, there is. Okay. Yeah, I can just take on g2. And after this trade, take on f5. And after takes, I'm going to be in a rook ending up 2 pawns. Yeah, rook c8. This should be a simple task for black to win this. So he correctly realized that queen takes g2 could be a threat. Yeah, I said in the game I was certain he was going to play that, but yeah, he played the better move, rook ff1. Now I grabbed a2. I knew that I would face some coordination issues in doing this, but the temptation to obtain 2 connected passed pawns was too great. Those pawns are unopposed, and if I get a few more tempos to advance them, I mean, it's game over. And I think for white here, they're either going to have to win one of these pawns, or they're going to have to create some threats towards my king. If they don't do one of those 2 things, then probably black is going to win this, because I've just got the strategic trumps. I've got 2 passed pawns already, and my king is pretty safe. So white has to act quickly to try to stir something up. I think white did the right thing, though. He was moving pretty fast and trying to harass my queen. And this was an important moment. It took me, yeah, like 12 seconds, but I noticed that b4 defended the pawn on d7 with my queen, so this move shouldn't bother me. And I'm willing to play b3 even if it boxes in my bishop, because I think if I can get my a pawn rolling, then it'll be a scenario like you saw play out in the game. White's unable to stop those 2 pawns. So here I had time to even pull the bishop back if I wanted. That would be more harmonious, I think. Yeah, I'd like to play b3 when my bishop is not stuck on a2. And this move stabilizes some important points in my position, but I just didn't want to lose time. That was the main thing. So b3 also might be okay. Then white came over, defending against b2. I got behind the pawn, so putting this rook to use. Okay, it's not completely clear-cut, though. So white could have played queen c7 here, attacking the rook, and also hitting d7. So if I come here, rook takes d7, and all of a sudden there's a threat here. Oh, and also, okay, so if I play the bishop, or the pawn ahead to have my bishop defend f7,
check.
White has a perpetual check, like this.
Check.
You can see how weak my dark squares still are, even though I managed to get that dark square bishop off the board earlier. And here I'm still subject to a perpetual, like king g8, check. Also, if I come to h6, white at the very least has queen h4 check. Maybe even more with rook e4 setting up a mating net. Although, actually, probably not in that case, because I am about to queen with check. So white should just settle for this and take a draw.
Check.
That's a common perpetual pattern. So white could have made it interesting right here with queen c7. They played the defensive move rook d2, and I offered a trade. I'm very happy to swap queens if that means that my pawns will mobilize and white will have trouble with that. So white played queen b2. I have 30 seconds left. He has a minute. Now another moment of truth. Rook ed1. That seemed correct, doubling the rooks. a4. Ah, so here white missed a good shot. e6. And the engine thinks that's winning for white. Pawn e6. Nice one. So the main idea there is that the queen is opened up. So now the white queen is monitoring g7. So that's not a flight square for my king anymore. So if I take with the d pawn, I'm just getting...
Check.
Well, not mated, but I lose my queen. Take,
Check.
take. And I'd have to play queen f8 to avert mate. And of course, this
Check.
is just winning for white. Yeah, this should be pretty easily winning. My bishop's also out of play. White's out material. So e6, wow. So that isolated e-pawn could be put to use for white. In the game, it kind of just sat there on e5, blocking the queen. So if I take with the f-pawn, then rook takes d7, and again, the queen is felt on the long diagonal. White's threatening queen g7 mate. I don't have a good remedy to that. Queen f8, but this is so passive. That's not what I want. King h2. I suppose that prepares rook f1, deflecting the queen away, or trying to deflect the queen away from defending g7. Yeah, hard to see all of that for both sides, but this is a little closer at the end than I thought. This felt like it was a crucial moment. Like, if white's going to have something, it's probably right here. Because otherwise, I'm getting pawn a3 next move, attacking the queen, and their window of opportunity is closing. A line that I saw really briefly was rook takes d7, a3, and now if they check, take, here. But now e6 doesn't work because I just take their queen. So the timing is critical. White has to get the timing right. And e6 was the appropriate move here, but not after my pawn gets to a3. Interesting. Yep, and after rook takes d7, pawn here, it's the advantage has swung back decisively in my favor now. Wait a minute. Did we both miss something? I think we did. Yeah, right here. I didn't notice this until now. Probably some of you have already posted by now in the comments that I missed something. And actually, I'll let you guys figure it out. I'm going to turn off the engine. Okay, so in the game, I just queened here. But what did both my opponent and I miss? You can pause the video if you like. Okay, so we both missed that queen takes f7 is just checkmate next move. So king over and queen g7 or queen takes h7 mate. Well, that's embarrassing. Yeah, so we played these moves in a flash, just this, and white automatically took my queen, as I thought white would have to do. But in fact, there was nice little checkmate in two available.
Checkmate.
Wow. That's Blitz for you. This sort of thing can happen. Doubly so if there's no increment and you're getting low on time. Okay, so apparently I'm still winning, but I have to find queen b3, blocking queen takes f7. And then it's the power of the two connected pass pawns. So if white takes here and trade, yeah, it looks like I'm promoting next move or even getting an a2. White would have to play this. Yeah, and this gets a little weird, but probably we're going to be bound for a scenario like this where I am up a pawn, but that pawn is not yet queening. White can defend it from behind like this. This might be a technical win for black, actually. Yeah, I think it is, actually. I think I can just play pawn a2 and then go around and eventually win this pawn. But, yeah, the bigger story is that we both missed checkmate. So queen b3 still wins. That's kind of cool, or close to it. They can play rook check here, but I just want to avoid taking because that would allow queen takes queen. Although even that is not... Oh, no. White can take here first and then take my queen, and that just wins. But, yeah, if king g7, I'm still on their queen, and these pawns will still be felt. For instance, queen b1, I can trade or even probably play a2 right away, but something like this is going to win. Queening next move. Wow, eventful game. Well, this game also shows the power of analyzing your games. You know, if I hadn't gone back through this, I would have been totally oblivious to the fact that I missed checkmate at the end. It's just remarkable how much you find in your games, even sometimes really obvious stuff that the computer will spot in a split second. So as played, I queened and white just automatically
Check.
took, and
Check.
that's it. I get my pawn to a2, and I'm getting a queen and winning. So a lot of themes at work in this one. I think summarizing this game, grabbing the pawn was probably dubious for me. I'll have to remember that knight f6 or possibly b4 is a better way to combat this f4 line. And I am glad that I found this plan of giving up the rook for the bishop in the middle game. The play after this was sloppy, definitely at the end. I think my technique was okay, just I missed that detail about the queen being on f7, which could have cost me the game. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.